Okay. And we are live. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Substack Live. I have with me today a fellow ghostwriter, Talyn Simmonds, who used to be a college teacher. Then he moved to the world of ghostwriting. He has a massive network of followers. He teaches ghostwriting and others. And I'm so excited to be talking with you, Talyn, today. So, first, how did you get into the world of ghostwriting?
Yeah, well, great question, and thanks for having me. This is my first Substack live, so I'm very new to this whole world of Substack. So it feels cool. Feels cool. Thank you for chatting with me today. How did I get into it? So long story short, when I was a college teacher, I actually loved being a teacher. Genuinely loved it, and I wanted to be a teacher since I was a kid. So it felt like I'd really achieved that goal. But I was teaching at a private school, private art school, teaching people how to write music, and I was not making the money that I wanted to make. So I was happy with the lifestyle, but I wasn't happy with not making enough income and struggling to pay my bills, especially in Canada where it's so expensive and the cost of housing is so expensive. And I was just looking for ways to make income outside of going back to get a college degree because I didn't want to go back to school for 10 years to become a psychologist. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'll be in school until I'm like 38 years old. That would just be crazy. I didn't want to do that. So I met a friend at a coffee shop and he said, just write online every day for an entire year and I promise it'll change your life. And I thought he was crazy. I'm like, how the heck do you make money online? I don't know anything about it. I've never done social media before. And I just thought, what do I have to lose? I guess I'll give it a try. And I started writing on Twitter. That was my first platform. And through writing on Twitter, all of a sudden people were talking about ghostwriting and it seemed pretty lucrative. And then I got connected with Dakota Robertson, who taught me how to ghostwrite. And I just basically rolled with the punches and ran with it. Worked for free for, I think it was like 3 months of free work to get experience that I could land my own clients. And once I landed that first client, it was like a switch flipped. And I was like, oh my God, this, you can actually make money online. Like, this is real. Magic internet money is real. You can actually start a business and make money. And then once that switch flipped, it was from there I just ran with it, and I've been just ghostwriting ever since. Expanded from Twitter to also writing on LinkedIn to writing on Substack and a newsletter, and we'll soon be starting up YouTube as well.
Hmm. So, are you a
And I'm
full-time
hoping that all of
ghostwriter?
that went through because I think my internet's a little choppy.
No, it's fine. I can hear you fine. So, are you a ghostwriter full-time? Yeah. So, are you a
I am,
ghostwriter
yes.
full-time?
Yes, yeah. So I'm a ghostwriter full time. I've been doing it full time since 2022. Started a business with my co-founder, who was a friend of mine from high school, and we basically turned it into a content marketing agency where we have a team of ops managers, writers. We have some VAs that work with us as well, and we ghostwrite on X and LinkedIn primarily, soon to be expanding to Instagram. But I've been doing it full time now for almost 3 years.
Hmm. And so you mostly write on social media, correct?
Yes, social media, and we're going to be doing newsletters soon too.
Okay. Have you ever thought of ghostwriting books, like business books, memoirs, and stuff like that? Because, it's actually more lucrative, from my experience, than writing social media posts.
I personally haven't thought about it. Um, so I've never ghostwritten a book, but from what I've heard is I actually heard the opposite, that it wasn't as lucrative, which is why I never explored the
Hmm.
opportunity. As a social media ghostwriter, like the rates that we're able to charge now are around 50, 200 a month per client plus a 10% rev share of any like leads and actual revenue that we bring in for the business. Where so it's recurring revenue. I heard with books that it takes a long time to write the books,
Mm.
and I'm actually not sure what the retainers and the royalties are. I can imagine if you get into writing like books for people who have like quite big audiences and big personal brands, I imagine it could be quite lucrative. But I haven't explored it myself just because I assumed that it wasn't as profitable as content marketing.
Mm. So now with the advent of AI, are you worried about being replaced by AI? Like now I can easily go to whatever AI tool you're using and say, write me a LinkedIn post that will bring me clients and whatever. And it can come up with that pretty accurately. And are you worried that you might be replaced?
Personally, no, not at this time. I think maybe as the AI models get more advanced, they could. But here's what I usually say to like my students as well, because I ghostwrite or I teach people to ghostwrite as well. We run a ghostwriting coaching program. Is they might say, well, I think AI is going to like replace us. People can just get the results they want. And I say, okay, if that is true, then I want you to use AI to get more results than me this month.
Hmm.
Like just do it. And I say that to all my students. I'm like, okay, if that's true, get better results than all of the businesses on LinkedIn or the people out there who are consistently crushing it. I want you to drive leads to your ghostwriting offer and just use AI to do all the writing. And I just haven't had anyone been able to do it yet. So I think there's this cultural idea that AI is just replacing everyone. But when you actually get into the specifics of it, I don't think it's that easy because in order to write really good content, you have to be able to prompt really well. And I'm a big proponent of AI. I've built out some pretty crazy AI systems for myself and for our agency. And the amount of prompting and time it took me to actually create those was crazy. And the amount of like detail, these prompts are like sometimes 1,000 to 2,000 words long to get like a really good solid output that's only 80% of the way there. Um, so then same question with students. They're like, hey, my prompt's not working. I'm not getting really incredible results. What do I do? I'm just like, hey, well, what are you doing for your prompt? And I look at it, I'm like, you're going to need, like, these prompts need to be so much more refined and so much more detailed and instructive in order to get good outputs. But because the students haven't written for long enough, they're not sure what to include in those prompts. So to me right now, the barrier to entry is a lack of specific knowledge on how to get top performing content, as well as a lack of general prompting knowledge on how to write really good prompts.
Mm. And how are you, like lately, I've been seeing many people becoming ghostwriters. I think there is a wave of people leading this and training people like Nicholas Cole and others. Which for me it's a bit different because I focus more on books and on and business ghostwriting. So don't worry, we're not competitors. But so how do you keep a consistent client base with what you're dealing with now? So you have the saturated market, let's say, of ghostwriters. You have other people doing the teaching. You have the AI trying to steal people's jobs. How do you keep getting clients? What is your secret? Like, what is your methodology?
Yeah, the audio was cutting out a little bit there, probably from my Latin American Wi-Fi right now. But you were asking how to keep clients and get clients when there's more like market saturation and competition, right? That was the question.
Yes, whether from people teaching, whether from people actually doing the ghostwriting, and from AI.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So there's a few answers to this. Um, I've been ghostwriting now for quite a few years. And as someone who also teaches people to ghostwrite, I'm probably going to say some things that I'm not supposed to as like someone who's a coach. But ghostwriting is actually quite difficult. Um,
Mm,
we have noticed that there's a lot of people entering the market, but there's not that many people truly competing in the market because of how difficult it is. Platforms are always evolving. Like what worked maybe a year or two ago on Substack or X or LinkedIn, that content doesn't really work anymore. There's more people that are entering the market, which saturates all niches. So if I'm writing for maybe a fitness client, there just naturally is more competition within that niche than there was before. So I have noticed that ghostwriting, it is fairly difficult. And the reason I bring this up is sometimes I feel with people that come to me like, hey, I really want to be a ghostwriter. it's like they want this like golden ticket. They're like, oh, I just want to become a ghostwriter and then I want to make magic internet money and I want to make like 10K per month and then I can just like travel and do what I want. And I'm like, yeah, I love that stuff too. That stuff's great, but you're still building a business and you have competitors and it is really tough. And you do have to adapt and always be learning, what's working now and not what was working even 3 or 4 months ago for these platforms. So there is that component that creates a bit of a moat. If you're someone who's got really good fundamental content marketing, you have good taste because you've been writing for such a long period of time. You're able to do market research effectively and actually find what's working and then emulate it in your own way without stealing it completely. That can create a bit of a moat. Um, so that's like one thing that we try to do is just always be at the cutting edge as an agency, and that helps create a bit of a moat. But the second thing that we try to do is we actually, as much as we're ghostwriters, we're more revenue partners for our clients. So what we used to do was, hey, we'll build your audience in social media, we'll build your brand, and that's where a lot of ghostwriters start for social media ghostwriting because that is the natural, easiest entry point. It's like the lowest skill. So there's a lot more competition for that. Like, hey, I'll build your brand and I'll just write your content. What we learned eventually was that a lot of businesses want basically a positive ROI. They want it to be very tangible within 1 to 3 months. They want like a 2 to 5x on the money that they pay. And we realized, okay, if we can plug into that and we can be a revenue multiplier for these businesses, then we create a bit of a moat because we become embedded in our customers' basically infrastructure. Like if they
Mhm.
don't pay us, they actually make less money. And that was what we switched into at the end of last year. And that's been what's really helped us differentiate and keep our clients long term. Like we've had some clients for over 6 to 7 months who like have actually told us, if we don't work with you, we don't make money. Like you
Hmm.
guys are the only agency we found to consistently like get a 5x on the money we pay you each month. And that's become our moat. And that's where we like to focus our energy now. And there's a lot less people with the skill set of lead generation than there are with people who are content writers. So that helps as well.
Hmm. So, what are your top tips for lead generation for ghostwriters?
Like for ghostwriters to get leads for themselves.
Correct. Like, let's say I'm a ghostwriter. I focus on books, newsletters, and like business content. Where do you think I should get? How do you think I should get clients? Like, I have capacity to take on 2 or 3 more clients. What should I do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great question. I'm going to try to keep it really simple. I can be bad for getting lost in the weeds. Going too deep.
Go ahead.
Um, go, okay, there's a few things. Like, let's say that someone listening to this is a new ghostwriter. They maybe haven't got their first client yet, or they have one, but they want to get another one and raise their rates and things like that. The first thing that I always recommend people do is you need more proof. The more
Okay.
proof you have, the easier it's going to be to get clients and to convert on clients and to charge higher prices.
Okay.
So, for example, when I was starting out as a ghostwriter and I didn't have any clients yet, I just reached out to other ghostwriting agencies and said, hey, can I write for you for free? I just am
Okay.
like hungry. I want to learn.
For free? Why for free?
I did it for free because in my mind, I knew that if I could get social proof, then I would be able to instantly jump my prices up quicker. So
Okay.
I think what a lot of people try to do, and these are two different strategies. This is just the one that I recommend and what worked for me was, okay, if I can just work for free and just crush it for these agencies and I can get screenshots of all the metrics and I can show like, this is what I can do. Look at all the impressions, the follower growth, the leads. Then when I get on a call with a client, instead of being like, hey, I've never had my first client, I'm going to have to charge like $500 a month or something. And there's going to be a lot of skepticism.
Mm.
And I hopped on my first sales call. And the guy was like, hey, like, who have you written for? Like, can I see some proof? And I just had this massive folder of like 60 screenshots of proof. And I was like, yeah, this is everything I got. These are the results that you can expect. It'll be 30, I think it was 3,200 a month. That was my first client ever. And he was just like, okay, let me think about it. And then he emailed me back later. It was like, yeah, let's do it. So I was able to go from having no clients at all to just jumping to charging for like more premium rates. Where from other students that I've coached, they struggle to do that without proof. So
Mm.
whether it's writing for a client for $500, $200 in the beginning, like my thought process is spend the first like 3 to 5 months, just depending on how quickly you can get the proof, just skill stacking and getting proof. Because the second you have proof, your rates just jump right up, and then it's easier to make a sustainable amount of income. So
Mm.
that would be the first step for me. And if you have questions, I can stop there.
Yeah. And how did you even get that person to respond? I'm assuming you did an cold outreach. So, like for me, it's the whole process of client acquisition is how do you identify who you contact and which platform do you use to contact them? And what is it in your cold outreach that make people respond? Because I personally get tons of cold outreaches like all the time. Email, LinkedIn, X, and I just hardly respond to any of them. So how did you get that first client to respond to you?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Um, so in the beginning, I actually got my first client through a referral. So I
Mm,
took a bit of a different approach than most people do because I actually do I do a lot more cold outreach now for our agency because I think it's necessary to scale. But I was very resistant to it for a long time, and I just don't enjoy it. It's not fun for me. So
okay.
I was like, I don't want to. So I just reached out to other ghostwriting agencies and ghostwriters and said, hey, can I write for you for free? Like, hey, do you need some like help? And I connected in that industry. And then one of those ghostwriting agencies was like, hey, I'm at capacity. Do you need a lead? And I was like, oh, yeah, that'd be great. And then he passed it over to me. So I took a referral approach in the beginning to get my first bit of clients. And then after that, I just switched to primarily inbound, where it was on X and then LinkedIn, but it was the same strategy. We were just writing viral content that would still appeal to the people that we wanted to get as clients, which were founders or coaches or consultants. So we would identify viral topics and trends that we thought those people would read. And then I would write them and then just have a CTA that was like, hey, if you're this person, if you're a coach or founder looking to get these results, here's the results we got for a past client. Here's all the impressions, followers, leads, or whatever. Click here to apply. And all my leads came in inbound. So I actually have not done outreach until for my agency until 30 days ago. 30 days ago is the
Oh,
first time
wow.
we did outreach for our agency in 3 years.
Oh, wow. So it's interesting because, you hear different opinions. People say, like, don't just post content and expect people to come to you. That would never happen. That you have to do cold outreach and like you have to send like 10 DMs a day and all of that. Do you agree with this advice?
In my experience, it depends on the offer. So for ghostwriting, I find that lead flow from inbound has become inconsistent because it's not as blue ocean. So back when I first started in 2022, 2023, and even the first half of 2024, it just felt like lead flow was insane. It was like I wasn't even trying and they were just like coming to me and I was like, I can't even fulfill like all this volume. This is
Oh,
nuts.
wow. Wow.
Um, but as but that's because there was less people. So I found there was only like 3 or 4 people who were really known for ghostwriting, and it was just kind of a thing in the industry. Hey, you go with one of these 4 people. Nowadays, there's a lot more people in the market, and inbound is more inconsistent on LinkedIn and on X. So that's where I think nowadays having either a warm outreach or a cold outreach component is necessary if you want to have consistency of clientele. But you might, have a couple posts crush and you get like 10 leads in a day, and then maybe you don't get any more inbound leads for 3 or 4 weeks if you just
Mm.
don't have something really hit. So if you add cold outreach into that strategy and you can do it effectively without sounding weird and spammy, like I'm sure you and I both know most cold outreach sounds like, then you can create more consistency of lead flow and scale, and it makes it easier to expand your team and get predictable revenue. So I'm actually very pro cold outreach.
So what changed when, I guess you're still posting the same content. So what's changed when you used to get tons of inbounds and now you're not getting as many inbounds as I used to? What happened?
Well, if I'm being totally honest, my brand actually has a bit of a product problem or a service problem. Or actually, I should call it an offers problem. So I have my ghostwriting agency, and the people that we serve are founders, coaches, consultants. and I have a ghostwriting coaching business that I do with Dakota Robertson and my other co-founder Dale, and that's more for writers, freelancers, 9 to 5ers. So I actually have two offers to completely different avatars. So I have a horizontal scale, um, which I actually is not what I recommend to anyone. If I was just doing the agency and I was like, I just have to create content for this one ICP and just like hit content for that every day and just target founders, my lead flow would be much more consistent. But because I'm trying to drive traffic to both offers, it creates a bit more of an inconsistency of lead flow and it
Mm,
kind of blends my audience between those two. And it's actually kind of hard to like horizontally scale it. And this is why I would just recommend as a general business principle to anyone who has offers that I think that your offers should stack to one avatar. And it's what I call vertical scale, where it's like, multiple offers to one person. So as a ghostwriter, it might look like, hey, we do social media ghostwriting for you, and then we can do newsletters, and then we can bring you to other social media platforms. And you have like multiple offers that stack to one person. It's just easier to have consistency of lead flow and to scale that way. Where I have a horizontal scale problem, and that's a part of where my lead flow problem is.
mm. So, what are the content that you think brought you the most inbound leads? What kind of content that really, was kind of the shining example of how content should be to generate leads?
For a ghostwriting offer, it's different than other offers, so you keep that in mind. But for ghostwriting, it depends on the platform. So on X, if you want to get consistent inbound leads, it's just about writing viral threads that have a slight tilt towards market sophistication. So for example, the one of the best lead flow threads I ever wrote was this is Naval Ravikant's favorite book by David Deutsch, The Beginning of Infinity. Here are like 6 of the craziest ideas from the book that you need to know. That works because I know that founders are going to read it. The average person isn't going to read The Beginning of Infinity because it's like a science book on like thinking. It's like very deep, it's very hard to comprehend. So
Mm,
anyone who's like interested in this book is probably going to have a bit of a higher sophistication level or be a founder who's very interested in like truth seeking and science and things of that nature. So when I posted that, we got a bunch of inbound leads. I think we ended up closing 2 or 3 of them that week just from that one thread alone. And it's because it has that higher sophistication level. So on X, I find that works really well. Is that tends to be a little bit like politics if you want to write about politics, like new political policies, business strategies, news from big companies, stuff that founders and coaches would actually read. And that's how you do it on X. On LinkedIn, there's 2 ways you can do it, but I find LinkedIn to be a little bit weirder for ghostwriting lead flow. Is you can either just go super top of funnel, which is writing like 7 productivity hacks for the workplace, career strategies, stuff like that that's just going quite viral on the platform. And you can get a good amount of leads, or case studies will get a lot of leads. Find case studies are really good on LinkedIn, but on X, they don't have enough viral potential to get reach. So they tend to be very poor for getting ghostwriting leads. If anything on X, you'd want to do like a trending thing, and then you want to put a case study like at the bottom of the thread in order for it to
mm.
work, just
So,
so you
what
still
kind of
get the reach.
case study of what? Like, what kind of case study would you post?
Yeah, I usually keep it pretty simple for ghostwriting stuff. It's um, like here's a problem. Like, so this founder came to us, was struggling to get leads. He had tried other agencies, et cetera, et cetera. What do you
Mhm.
try? And that's because this strategy doesn't work anymore. Here's the new strategy that we did. And these are the results that it got. It got this many impressions, this much leads, made the founder this much money. If you want results like this, click here. It tends to be something like that. I find works really well.
Mm, fascinating. I feel like I'm getting a free business coaching session. But everyone who's actually listening, so it's fun. Um, so did you recently join Substack? When did you move to Substack? Why did you choose Substack? And I'm just curious about where Substack is headed.
I, I want to answer this question, but I see that there's a question here about lead generation posts on
Yes.
LinkedIn, and I actually have a second answer for this that I think would be really valuable. Do you mind if
Okay. Sure.
we
Yeah.
do a
So
small
the
tangent?
question is, what are best inbound lead generation posts for ghostwriting on LinkedIn? It's from listener Lucas Purris. I hope I pronounced the name
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Lucas Paris, maybe, I don't know. Depends on his
Ah,
nationality.
okay.
Um, okay, so this is what I would actually do on LinkedIn if you want consistent lead gen. It's a little bit contrary to the technique that I just told you, but there are multiple lead gen strategies. So the way that I would do it is you actually want to get case studies and you want to post case studies 2 to 3 times a week on the results you're getting clients. Um, and you might think, well, case studies aren't going to perform super well. I'm not going to really be going viral. And that's true. But the way that this works is if you're going to also do cold outreach, your profile starts to act like a wall of testimonials to some degree. So you want half of your content to be value-based stories. This is why I do business. These are the ethics behind the way I do business. This is how I lead my team. Stuff that some like other business owners can relate to and be like, dang, I really like this person. They value family as well as business. So that would be half your posts. The other half are more like authority and case studies. And even though they
Mm,
don't do well, the purpose of them is that when you cold DM someone, the first thing they're going to do if they like the message is check your profile. And when they scroll, if what they see is like, oh, value based story, oh, yeah, I also like value family. Oh, the next one, oh, a case study. Wow, he crushed it for, oh, someone exactly like me. Like, oh,
mm,
another value based story. Oh, another case study. Wow, this person's like really consistently getting results. I actually think I will respond to that person. So that is one strategy you can use is not to actually go with like the viral content and trying to get inbound, but you can just go with, okay, my profile is basically a landing page and I need to have all the proof and all my values and the relatable facets of me. So when people come to the profile after I DM them, they like what they see and then they're more receptive to responding.
Interesting. I like how you called it the wall of like testimonials LinkedIn. I never thought of LinkedIn this way, but this is genius. Thank you.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah.
and back to Substack. When did you join and where do you think Substack is headed? Because the reason I ask, you mentioned you've been active on X, and we'll get to X later, but are you transitioning your kind of time or focus on Substack now? What is your Substack strategy?
It's a great question. So to answer that, keep in mind that I have been on social media writing now for about 3-ish years, 3.5 actually.
Okay.
X was my first platform, and it, in a lot of ways, it was kind of like my baby. It's like my first love that just always had like a place in my heart because it's where I started, and it's where like my first business success was. It's where I met a lot of like my current friends and my mentors. And I do like have a soft spot for that platform. But then I wanted to just de-risk. So like, okay, I'm gonna go to LinkedIn. That way, if X gets a little bit weird, at least I still have LinkedIn, which I'm very happy I did that because X did get kind of weird, and I had
Yeah.
LinkedIn to offset it. And I'm at a point now where I'm doing everything I can to grow on X and LinkedIn as quickly as I can while being in
Okay.
alignment with my brand. And I need more channels. So I thought Substack was just naturally like, okay, I'm going to go to Substack because I can take some of my tweets that I like, I can rewrite them, I can add more nuance for the platform. I like the idea of doing my newsletter on Substack. I like the energy on Substack. Like as much as X is kind of my first love, I actually don't like the platform very much anymore. I think it just got totally ruined over the past few years, unfortunately, and I didn't expect that to happen. I really had hope that it was going to become better, but I really miss like old Twitter when I
Mhm.
started. It was just such a fun, awesome platform with so much opportunity. And to me, Substack feels like old Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Let's hope that who shall not be named end up buying it and doing what he did to act. But okay, so I noticed you have, I think, 8,000, over 8,000 subscribers on Substack. I mean, that's a huge number. How did you get so many subscribers to your Substack? And how many of them are paid subscribers?
Yeah, good question. So I've been growing my newsletter list on socials for a couple of years now. I didn't take it like really that seriously, and I wish I did. That's probably one of my biggest regrets as a creator was not focusing more on newsletter. But I grew to around 8,000-ish subscribers over the past few years, and I did it on Beehive. So I just have
Mm,
like lead magnets on X and LinkedIn. I have journal prompts that I give away. I have a free ghostwriting community where you learn to ghostwrite with AI and get your first client. I have that with Dakota Robertson. So there's a few, they're kind of like lead magnets where people can basically get access to those and then they get added to my email list. And I've been growing that for a couple of years. And when I started on Substack, just to be totally transparent, I realized that the subscriber count acted kind of like a social proof mechanism, like followers.
yeah.
So I ported all of my newsletter subscribers from Beehive over to Substack.
Mm,
And then I set up an automation where when somebody gets my lead magnet, they get added to Beehive because Beehive as a newsletter platform has better automations than Substack and better like
yeah.
funnels. And then what happens is they automatically get added to my Substack as well. So I actually send all my newsletters through Substack, but people like they subscribe to my newsletter and they're technically on both. But when they like
Yeah.
unsubscribe from one, they get eliminated from both. And I usually only email from the Substack one, but I can't use lead magnets and get people on Substack as far as I know. So this is the only workaround that I know of for right now.
And how do you do that? Zapier, or like how do you do that automation?
Yeah, it's a Zapier automation. To be transparent, I paid a guy to do it for me. I'm like, is this even possible? Because that was why I hesitated to get on Substack for so long. Is I'm like, how does this work? Like, do I have two newsletters, and then how do I figure out like who to email? And is it confusing if I send from one platform? But when I figured out I could just add them all here and then to Substack, and I could just send everything through Substack, I'm like, okay, perfect. I'll make the switch now.
I was in a similar situation. So I was on both ConvertKit and Substack, and then I moved everyone to Substack. But then now I have like my business products, which is on Kajabi. So they're both on this, but Kajabi I only use for like business emails. Like, hey, I just
Yeah,
launched a new course, or like, I have a new book. And if you click, and then they go into a funnel and then they get tagged, and all of kind of that like heavy marketing material goes through the Kajabi software, but Substack is for fun. I mean, Substack is where we do this, right? And then they get
yeah,
notified that we're doing this. But I'm not sure it's a good strategy, but I'm like it's all about experimentation, and we're trying, and it's fun.
of course.
Okay,
I feel that too.
so do you think you mentioned like now Substack is like the old Twitter? So do you think we all should be on Substack now, like the writers and the ghostwriter, and how long would like when will this honeymoon be over, if it's gonna be over?
That's a really good question as well. Um, I think that anyone who's like serious about writing and running a newsletter and maybe selling digital products or and things and consulting and things like that should be on Substack. It feels to me like the new fresh blue ocean pond where the
Mm,
engagement is like pretty good for the amount of effort. People are active. The energy is just good. Like I just can't even after being on socials for 3 years, I'm like, oh God, I just love the energy on Substack. It's so
yeah.
awesome. Um, so I do think that people should be on there. In terms of ghostwriting opportunity, I'm not convinced right now that there's people who are going to pay to have you ghostwrite their Substack yet. I think maybe like newsletter ghostwriting, that has always been a thing, but I'm too new and I just haven't dipped my feet in the pond enough yet. But still, most of like the leads I get for ghostwriting are on X and LinkedIn, and I would say 70% of it's LinkedIn right now.
Huh.
70 to 80% is LinkedIn. People want LinkedIn growth more than anything. So Substack to me feels like my creator platform. You were saying it's like the fun thing.
Yeah,
That's where
it's
it's
the
like
fun
I
thing.
can write about, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I can write about what I want. I can have fun writing notes and I can do my newsletter. But when it comes to my ghostwriting business, I actually focus more on other social platforms for that. So
Mm,
I just bring that up because I'm not convinced that someone right now could go on Substack and start ghostwriting and like actually turn it into a lucrative business. I don't have enough experience to say if Substack is ready for that, or maybe we need more users, or it also seems to be like
Yeah.
people on Substack want to write their own content. Like it feels very
Yeah.
creator central.
Yeah, I noticed that on Substack, if I mention like a case study, like this is how you become like a good ghostwriter, whatever. This is how you get clients. It hardly gets engagement. While it gets engagement on LinkedIn, what gets engagement on Substack is a picture of me walking my dog in the woods, or like, or more personal observations, like a client ghosted me and like I go on a rant about a client ghosted me, that would get more, and but it's just it's interesting. And sorry, that's my cat is bothering me. He's probably
No worries.
hungry. um and there's a question here from Kagura Jichuru. I hope I did not butcher your name, Kagura. And it says, kindly speak on how to grow on Substack as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty new to Substack, so I'm still figuring it out. But here's what I'm doing right now. I'm doing 1 to 2 hours a day of commenting and just DMing other people that I like from scrolling the feed and just like, oh, yeah, I really like this. I'm going to chat with this person and connect. So that's one thing that I do is just connecting with more people, seeing who I vibe with, who I might want to like follow, or maybe through chatting with them, they end up wanting to like reciprocate and follow back. So it's a little bit of like just getting into the Substack community and like chatting with more people and becoming
Yeah.
aware. Um, I want to make sure that, like, I don't mean that in like a transactional sense. I'm not there for 2 hours, just like follow me on Substack. Like you never want to do that. It's just genuinely connecting with people, but that is a very organic way to grow. It seems like keywords are also quite big on Substack. Like if you want to talk about philosophy, writing, copywriting, to actually use those words in your posts. I'm not sure how effective that is because I'm still so new, but it does seem like one way to do it. And the other way to grow on Substack is to actually just bring people from other social platforms. Like I would say most of my Substack growth doesn't even happen on Substack. It's just from me having people join my Substack newsletter from LinkedIn or from X.
Mhm,
Like I
mhm.
think I get probably 20 to 50 new subscribers a day between LinkedIn and X. And that doesn't come from like Substack organically, but it's still my Substack subscribers.
20 subscriber is a day?
20 to 50 usually, yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, that's and how many of those are paid, if you don't mind sharing that?
Yeah, I'm not doing a paid newsletter right now, just free
Are you not?
subscribers
Okay.
because I want to expand to Instagram and YouTube before I do the paid newsletter. That way I'm covering all the socials and I'm bringing people from all socials to Substack, and then I'll add the paid newsletter component, but right now it's taking me too long to figure out how do I systemize Instagram? How do I also systemize YouTube and make sure it's like time efficient? It's just taking me too much time. So I don't feel I have the bandwidth to write extra paid newsletters right now without sacrificing those opportunities.
I like your approach is very like focused, and so you basically go all in one platform. You kind of figure out its secrets, and then you move to a different platform. You do not like juggle, or like, some people like are everywhere and then like masters of none. But uh so what does the future hold for Talyn Simmonds? What are you working on now, and how do you see yourself in, let's say, 5 years? I'm asking you like in a job interview. Like, how do you see yourself in
Yeah.
like in a 5 year in 5 years or so?
Yeah. It's a good question again. um, good. So right now, okay, what am I working on right now? So as a ghostwriting agency, we are expanding to Instagram. So we want to have Instagram, LinkedIn, X, and newsletters as our four platforms that we can offer services. So that if someone pays us for LinkedIn and it's going well, we can say, hey, do you also want to grow on X? Do you want to do Instagram? Should we add a newsletter? And it gives us a lot of ways to like vertically scale up our clients. So I'm learning Instagram right now, and that's taking me a lot of time. As we were saying, it's
Mm,
learning a new platform well does take time. The days of all the platforms being kind of similar and you post the same stuff on different platforms, like those days are long gone. Each platform has its own rules and needs its own content adaptation. So right now I'm working on that for the ghostwriting agency, making sure we can go omni-channel. Um, for our ghostwriting coaching offer, we are refining the curriculum and adding a new component to it on the back end that helps people scale to like 10K per month as ghostwriters. That takes up a lot of bandwidth, like doing course creation. And then for for myself, I'm still writing my newsletters each week. I'm about to add Instagram for myself and YouTube while trying to be more consistent on Substack because Substack's my kind of new thing that I'm not as consistent with. So in the short term, those are like the projects that I want to finish up in the next few months. But in 5 years, I'm actually hoping to transition to just writing fiction and being a fictional author. So
Oh,
that's my
wow.
5 year plan.
Why fiction?
It's just a passion project for me. I've always wanted to write fiction. I've had ideas since I was a kid. I just I believe that where your wandering thought goes is maybe where your calling is or where your purpose in life is. And if I'm just out for a walk or by myself, I always just think about fiction that I could write. Takes up like most of my bandwidth.
Hmm.
So for a little bit of context, I was a musician before I was a ghostwriter, and I know what it's like to be a
Okay.
starving artist who struggles to make money off of their art. So I'm trying to be more strategic now where I'm growing on all the social platforms. I'm learning that how to capture an audience. I'm building what I call high leverage businesses where my team and my systems do a lot of the work once they're built. And I can only put maybe like 10 to 20 hours a week into those businesses to keep them afloat and like make the changes. And
Mhm.
then I'll have more bandwidth to be like, okay, the rest of my time is just going to go to writing fiction. I can do it without sacrificing income. I can do it from a place of abundance instead of scarcity. Like I need to make money off these books or like I need to get a job. And I genuinely like the businesses that I run too. So it's a multi-year process where I don't think I'll start writing fiction till next year, maybe the year after if I'm unlucky. But I think next year will be at the starting point. Um, and that will be my long 5 year play, but focusing on the leveraged income and the businesses and the audience growth first.
Oh, this is great. I mean, I write fiction, and if you ever want a book coach, you know where to find me. Uh, Shameless plug here. But
Yeah.
there's there's a question here from Carrie Loranger. How do you talk about Substack on Instagram?
Yeah, I personally don't talk about Substack on other platforms. I just, on other platforms, I have lead magnets, or basically free things that I give away where people have to subscribe to my Substack in order to get them. So one of them is I'm really big on journaling and writing as a self-improvement tool is like one of my obsessions. So I have this massive list of journal prompts. So I like giving those away for people who want help with mental health or self-improvement. And when they get access to those, they also get added to my Substack. And then there's an AI ghostwriting course that Dakota Robertson and I put together for people who want to learn how to be ghostwriters that when they join that course, they get added to my Substack as well. So I don't talk about Substack on other platforms. I just talk about, mental health, self-improvement, philosophy, writing, ghostwriting, and then people get added to my Substack as subscribers. So I hope that
Hmm.
makes more sense.
You mentioned learning and how you learn. What kind of media do you consume? And like, what do you think the book that or the mentor or the podcast channel that had the most effect on you for in terms of business growth?
For business growth in particular, I feel people could basically just consume Alex Hermosi and they'd probably hit their business goals unless they're like huge goals of wanting to make like hundreds of millions. But if someone wants to build a lifestyle business or turn writing into a career full time, become an author, a ghostwriter, a copywriter, you could read Alex Hermosi's books and watch his YouTube. And I feel like you would learn like everything you need to. And in terms of business, I would say he's the single most impactful person that has truly helped me get good or better. I don't want to say I'm good at business. I'm still a novice to business, but who has helped me get a lot better at business. Naval Ravikant's book, or the Almanac of Naval, Ravicomp by Eric Jorgensen is another really good one on the philosophy of business and
Mm,
leveraged income and the idea of developing leveraged income and making money with your passions and things like that. I think that's a very good philosophical take on business. But for more tactical stuff, Alex Hermosi is probably the one I would just recommend going to. It's just the amount of useful information per second is insane from that creator.
hmm. What about podcasts that you listen to?
Yeah, for sure. I don't actually listen to a lot of business stuff. Truthfully, I don't like business that much, which some people might find like kind of funny. To me, like business is just the medium that I get leveraged income to do the things I want to do. Like I'm an
Mm,
artist at heart. I'm a creative and a creator. Like I don't like getting lost in the weeds of business, but I know the pain of wanting to make money off of the things that you care about and off of your art and really struggling to do so and just being like, oh, I wish I could just create all day. And it wasn't until I realized I had to learn business to make my art and creativity into a career that I started to value business more. But I'm not one of those guys who will read a book on like Rockefeller or like, oh, I really just need to know all the new like business stuff. I'm like, I need to know the amount of business stuff that allows me to bring this art to life. And aside from that, I focus more on like Modern Wisdom is probably the only podcast I really listen to. I focus more on like self improvement, looking for big ideas and fun things to write about, solving problems in my own life, and just you doing research on those so I can write about them. And I focus more on like the ideas and the creativity than business itself. So I'm a terrible person to ask about like business podcasts and stuff.
well, definitely what you're doing is working. So, yeah, but that's well. This been wonderful, Talent. I mean, I personally learned a lot, and I hope people who are joining us or will listen or read this later will learn as much as I learned from you. And how can people reach you if they wanna learn about ghostwriting or if they're like founders who wanna hire your agency? What is the best way to reach you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. First Substack Live. So Natasha, this was awesome. I had a lot of fun. If people want to connect with me, it's Talyn John Simmonds on Substack. You can just send me a DM there. I check them every day and would be happy to chat about writing, ghostwriting, philosophy, spirituality, like literally anything. I don't know. I'm just obsessed with ideas and
That's great.
creativity.
Anything else you'd like to add before we conclude?
Um, if you're someone who's watching and you do want to get into ghostwriting, Dakota Robertson and I do have a free course on basically getting into AI ghostwriting, landing your first client, the processes and the systems behind that. And if you're someone who loves to, write to better yourself and you see writing as a self-improvement thing, I have some journal prompts that have like truly saved my life, helped me with frustration, anxiety, limiting beliefs, I like sticky identity changes that are like holding me back in life. I love these prompts. I use them all the time. I'd be happy to send those over to anyone who's interested in that. So you got two options. You can write to build wealth, ghostwriting, or write to better self, journal prompts.
This is great. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, and please definitely stay in touch. And for anyone who's listening or watching, thank you for joining us today for this Substack Live episode. And until we meet again, ciao.
That's good. Thanks, Natasha. Bye.
Bye.